Guys, we are back at it once again with a massive episode for you today, guys. More crossovers, more parodies, and we got to give our rub here to our good friend TMNT Talk Christian. Last week, he gave me the Michelangelo from the movie, "Hey, dudes, where you going?" Because I wasn't sure if he could hang with us all night, but he was ready to go. We finished that chapter of books. We've got more here from the 90s, 2000s, parodies galore. Christian, before we get started, I certainly hope you don't have SNK working on your AC, because, dude, it is about 100 degrees Fahrenheit out by me. What's the weather out by you?
Oh, dude, it's horrible. It's getting better, but the last week was really there were only two weather situations. Either it was hot like hell, or it was raining and storming. There was nothing in between. It was really crazy. But as far as I heard, next weekend should be better.
Yeah, I sure hope so. Like I said, I'm just glad SNK ain't in my neighborhood. I wouldn't want them fixing my AC unit. And for those who don't know, that's the Bebop and Rocksteady Shredder team in the old cartoon. I always like that too. SNK. Shredder and Krang. Nice little word game for us. But starting things off today, guys, we're going to go down the gritty line here with 1994 special with Casey Jones and Raphael.
Oh boy, yeah, Casey Jones had in the 90s his own two-parter comic story by Mirage Studios. And oh boy, let me tell you, it's a wild one. All right, so the story starts off with Casey, who comes to the turtles' lair to tell them a story. And he talks about when he was on patrol, he ran into some punks stealing lobsters. And after beating up the punks, he got attacked by a weird blue-skinned man and they knocked him out. They took Casey with them underwater, but Casey was able to escape and he landed on a fishing boat which belongs to a fisherwoman named Gabriel. There's no relation or anything to his later wife, who was also named Gabriel. But this woman knows what's going on. Okay, now it gets wild. On Neptune, the planet Neptune, there was a group of lobster creatures called the Malacostra. And their leader, Big Snapper, left the planet because he knew that its gravitational field was weakening and he was looking for a new place to stay. So he came to Earth. Later, the other Malacostrians followed to Earth, but Big Snapper had already built a new empire on Earth, didn't care about his old followers, and cursed them, which turned him into the blue-skinned fishman. And now the Malacostrian are searching for the one lobster on Earth that still has the royal blood on them, and when they find it, that will lift the curse. So, backstory. Casey and Gabby find out that the Malacostrians have found the royal lobster and go to an island nearby to lift the curse. Casey goes to the island, builds himself an armor from Malacostrian shell, and attacks all the creatures. So big battle, big fight, really crazy Casey Jones style. The curse is lifted and all the blue men turn into giant lobsters, their original form. Casey hacks and slashes through them, but suddenly the island itself comes to life because the island is Big Snapper. Casey uses some explosives and blows Big Snapper up. Later, he awakens on a cruise ship and has a little lobster with him. He cooks it and eats it as Gabriel comes in. But then she gets angry since Casey actually ate the one lobster who was still royal blood in it. And then she turns into a lobster creature herself as she is the queen of the creatures. Casey fights her and then it all goes black and we go back to the present time and Casey suddenly is gone. The turtles wonder, hey, what's the end of the story? And the turtles are wondering if any of the story was real or maybe Casey just told them a crazy story. Who knows? But yeah, that was the Casey Jones two-parter by Mirage Studios, and it's Mirage Studios craziness at its best.
So much grit. So how does this one compare to the current Casey Jones series? Again, it's a different era. You know, we're talking 30 years different, but just do both of them work for Casey Jones? Do they fit what you're looking for in a Casey Jones character comic?
Well, if you think about Casey and say, hey, it's a Casey Jones solo mini series, whatever, for me, the first thing that comes to mind is like, okay, street level crime, and Casey's gonna in there busting some skulls. And this story is really out there with lobster creatures from Neptune, which could be a sci-fi movie from the 50s. And the last Casey Jones miniseries by IDW Comics, that was really down to earth. Of course, it had mutants and stuff, but it was more, yeah, street level crime. And so, not that I did not enjoy this story. It's fun. It's fun. But I think the Casey Jones miniseries from IDW current, it works better for Casey in my opinion, and it's also very in canon of the IDW story. With this one, you're not sure, but but I had fun with both of them, gotta say.
Yeah, it's always nice getting that gritty 90s feeling. So it's what's cool too
Yeah.
about these two, the more we're going to break down is just the length of these crossovers in comics. You know, we got more bang for our buck back in the 90s. A lot of these are, like we mentioned earlier, podcasts, you know, on Spotify and YouTube, 20 pages nowadays, 25. Most of these are 30, almost 40 plus, especially the one that's coming up next is Pipeline. And real quick, how shocked are you now when you know, again, you've read this before, I haven't, but we grew up with heavy smoking in our generation. You know, like I didn't smoke cigarettes, but we pretty much all knew somebody. If our parents didn't, it was our aunt, our uncle, or the janitor, you know, if at school.
Yeah.
So how weird is it now seeing like literally no smoking in any comics? It's almost like non-existent.
Yeah, you're totally right. And I mean, nowadays when you see someone smoke in a movie or anything, it's kind of weird in a way. Back then, smoking was totally normal. Like, I don't know how it was with
Yeah.
you, but over here in every bar or even McDonald's, people were smoking and there nobody bat an eye. It was completely normal. I mean, I am also a non-smoker, so I'm
Yes.
happy that it isn't that way anymore. But back then, that was just the way it was.
Yes, same here. And my parents are, oh, my dad's been trying to quit. You know, again, no disrespect to any smokers, but I will say it is interesting now in most movies, unless you're Nick Fury, because they wanted to keep that true to his core. You always had a cigarette near him. It's mostly a villain that smokes now. I really, like, when's the last time
Yeah.
you've seen a good guy take a huff and puff? I really can't recall any in the last couple of decades, besides Nick Fury.
Yeah. I just recently saw the Supergirl movie, and Lobo is in it, and he smokes cigars. But Lobo isn't really a good guy, so yeah, you have it there again.
Ah, good point. Like Wolverine with the cigars. Good point. Like an anti-hero
Yeah,
type. Very true.
yeah, right.
All right. Well, feel free to walk us into this one, where again a little PG-13 language too. And we saw "Quit Your Bitching" in this one.
Yeah, we've got some specials by Mirage Studios coming up. First one is called Time's Pipeline. That's from '92, and I'm giving my best here to try to tell you the story because it's all over the place. Okay, so story starts off with turtles, and they're thanks to a time wizard named Five Bly. The turtles get zapped across time and space. They land in a forest, and they also suddenly have lizard-like flaps thanks to the time travel side effects. And they land in the middle of a battle between lizard people and flying lobsters. The turtles just try to get back to their world and find themselves fighting with the rebellion against an evil army from the future. The turtles fight their way through this war and into a fortress where they find a transmat that zaps them back to their time wizard. Then Five Bly is like, he wants money from the turtles because, hey, you had this crazy adventure. But since they don't have any, he zaps them back into April's apartment. And, well, the turtles are back in the time and they look normal again. They don't have like this peaks anymore. But yeah, it's if you hear me right now, it really sounds like a, I don't know, 10-page story, but it's really a long story. But there's so much craziness and the art and everything that's going on, very much action, and yeah, wild ride.
Yeah, it certainly was, dude. Feel free to catch your breath and take us right into the next one. We got a jam-packed episode today, dude. I have so much fun doing these crossovers. I get jacked because it's stuff I didn't know existed. It's like going into a time capsule and seeing, dude, these are my turtles from. A lot of this is from Turtle Mania.
Yeah. Yeah, the same as the next story here from another turtle special called The Haunted Pizza. Okay, where we find out that 65 million years ago, a comet crashed into Earth. And in it was the evil fungus creature called Uza. And Uza then killed all the dinosaurs. So we now know what happened to the dinosaurs. But thanks to an earthquake, he was buried deep below the earth. In present time, a cheese factory is built above the place where Uza is buried, and a part of him escapes into the cheese, which then gets put on a pizza. In the turtles' lair, April brings a pizza for the turtles, but it contains Uza, who awakens when the pizza box is opened. So the turtles find the slimy cheese creature, but then realize that it needs light as an energy source. So the turtles turn off the light and, as ninjas, fight in darkness and defeat the mozzarella body of Uza, and then they go look for another pizza. So yeah, that's the haunted pizza.
Oh, is this up your alley, Mr. Horror over there, dude? Because I know you're the big horror guy.
Yeah, kind of, but it's not really. I mean, this story could have also been like a story from the cartoon or anything.
Yeah.
It wasn't really scary. It could have been like an Halloween episode or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, especially back in, like you say, Turtle Mania 92. That's when they were getting
Yeah.
really zanier. I think it was like season 4 through 6 when it was changing networks too. It was just so weird reading that line. The cheese jumped right off the pizza and started to attack us, and now it's growing. Just imagine that driving, your car, and you have that old record with like the radio TV shows. Justin Cooper from Epic Tales. I think you're gonna have to read this one. Shout out to you, my dude. You're gonna have to narrate.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get in touch.
Please do it.
Yes, I'm gonna get in touch and say it's a request from Shellonomics and TMNT Talk. So I am gonna write that down now. Coming up next is not the Maltese hamster, but the Maltese turtle.
Yeah, that's a goofy story, another TMNT special, done by the same guys who did the spaced out story, like this cartoony parody turtle story. And yeah, it's the same thing here. Don't take it too seriously. Where the Maltese turtle, which is an actual turtle, is stolen from the New York City Zoo. And Raphael, he decides to find the turtle and save it. So he finds out that the Daltish brothers are behind it and looks up their hideout in the telephone book. And yeah, that works. He goes to this address, but he gets knocked out by Ma Daltish, the mother, and thrown into the sea with cement shoes. But a fisherman rescues him, and Raph goes back to the bad guy's hideout. He scares the Daltish brothers away, and Ma Daltish gets defeated by getting judo flipped by the Maltese turtle itself. So the Maltese turtle saves itself, and the Daltish brother gets sent to prison. And yeah, Raph kinda helped.
Now, this was the biggest I've seen Splinter body weight wise since Rise of the Turtles. How about you? Have you ever seen Splinter so big? Okay, I'm glad you got that analogy too.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Oh, we had Wanted Fonzie, some other we got a lot more good parodies coming up in this episode too here on YouTube and Spotify, which I can't wait to hear your reaction because I know you're more, are you actually, I won't ask that question because that'll spoil the spoiler of the Easter eggs there, but just don't you like the wording too, like the villains in this, they're just incompetent like Bebop and Rocksteady. Dear Mayor, we want lots of money. the Deltish brothers. So
yeah, and the hideout is just in the telephone book.
Yes,
that makes because yeah, of course it's as I said, don't take it seriously. It's goofy. It's very Looney Toony style. Yeah.
That's actually a good point. Actually, that's a good way to describe it, Looney Toony, because that's exactly how I felt reading a lot of these, and I like the artwork for it too, man. It's cool. It's good stuff, and just we were a lot more laid back in the '90s, so. Coming up next, though, is one that was really out there in regards to. Oh, before we get to that, though, was this also the issue that had like a Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, like just like a cameo with their names mentioned? All Star Comic Show presents. So I have that in my notes. Was it this one?
Which one, the Maltese turtle or the next one? Yeah, the Maltese turtle.
Yeah.
They were in the end when
Yes.
they all were together, and they had this perfect parody of the one you immediately know. Oh, that's Eastman and Laird.
Yeah.
When they were like standing together and talking to the reader, like, "Yeah, we did it." Yeah.
Yeah, little jokes. Got a monkey on my back. Just again, we were a different breed back then. I think the '90s folks. And then how about the Superman Batman parodies too at the end?
Yeah, that's the same thing. It's it's so funny because stuff like that, nobody said anything about it. Like, okay, that's a parody, so it's not like DC came in like, you cannot do this. Uh, just go with it. Just have fun, and yeah, that's what they did.
I think that's why me and you can both agree. That's why we like Chrome Alone 2 so much, because of all the parodies, right? It felt like we were back in time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, loved it.
All right. Well, coming here with, I guess, a true or false question, like you did correct me on. We saw Donatello wearing glasses, but on a technicality, you would be wrong, or I would be wrong, right? With this one coming up.
Yeah, because we're now going straight more into parody town with the green gray sponge suit Sushi Turtles, which is the official parody comic for the 1990 movie. And yeah, we talked about these kind of turtles last time when we had these short stories in the Turtle Soup comics. And yeah, this story, as I said, is the parody of the 90 movie, and it's pretty much the same story from the movie, but not with Donatello, Raphael, Michelangelo, and Leonardo, but with Velvedu, Toyodu, Viceroy, and Perrier. And yeah, and April is not April O'Neil, her name is April May June, and she gets attacked by the Bad Guy clan, who are like the Foot Clan here, but they are like fans of Bad Guy, who is a parody of Batman. And the turtles sort of kind of rescue her, and then she meets their master Matchstick. And one of the turtles, called Perrier, later runs into the vigilante Cootie, who is a fan of the turtles, but he liked them more when they were like in the dark and gritty comic world and not like the cartoony. So yeah. And later, the turtles' lair gets attacked by the Bad Guy clan. The turtles, April and Cootie, escape to the farm. That same like the movie. But Matchstick is captured by Shooter, who is the leader of the Bad Guy clan. So of course that's Shredder. So later, the turtles then confront Shooter on a rooftop, but Matchstick appears and Shooter is defeated. Cootie takes off his mask, and April, May, June realizes how awesome and handsome he looks. And yeah, all the other characters are also in there. Like Danny Bennington is called Dan, and yeah, it's bit hard to describe the story because it's a parody and there's just goofy joke after joke after joke. I mean, one of my favorite jokes, gotta say, is at the end when Dan's father meets him again, like they did in the movie, and they're like, "Oh my God, I found you again!" And Dan says, "Dad, don't call me Dan. Call me Dan." And I don't know. This humor works for me. So yeah, that's the parody.
Right off the bat, we go into April, May, June. So you know where they're pulling you here. Just this was so much fun to read. We get so much mention of Brady Bunch, the Turtle cereal. That was pretty popular at the time too. We get jokes of that. Get a Load of Me from the Joker, because again, pretty much Turtles was not competing with Batman, but Batman was like the best superhero movie before Turtles. I mean, me and you are gonna always say Turtles over that Batman, but it was Batman before the '89 Batman movie. And what else did I want to ask here? Just so How ironic is it when, you introduce us as the official? So again, Eastman and Laird were cool with this, right? Being the official parody, as you called it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was published by Mirage Studios, so they were totally fine with it. It's like, and I liked it. It's like, don't take your stuff too serious. I mean, isn't parody the most sincere, um, like the most sincere, most flattening way of saying something is good if you parody it? Because if it's not like important or people don't care about it, don't make a parody of it. So if you have a parody, that's when you really made it, I think. So yeah, it's they must have been really fine with it, and I see it because really I had fun with this.
Oh my gosh, you ain't kidding. Again, it was just nice to go back in time and something I didn't know it even existed. It was really cool. So now we're into a creepy with the word infestation on there, and just the only thing I will say is just again, we like the little last before we get into it. No calamari on my pizza ever. So we've got anchovies, pineapple, no pineapple for me, and I guess according to this book, we're not going to have calamari either.
Yeah, so we're jumping now into the IDW world. Um, and there are two books called Infestation 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 and 2. And just for context, Infestation 2 was like this another event story by IDW Comics, where like we see different strange things going on in different worlds, like with the Transformers and other ones. And the Turtles also had their part in the story. And in this story, we are in New York. This is like around the early time, like soon after the start of the IDW Turtle universe. So, and in New York, there are reports of strange creatures and people disappearing in the city. As the turtles run into a weird monster themselves, they investigate and they go deep beneath the sewers to find out more. They find more strange creatures and tentacle monsters, and one of them attacks them, grabs Leonardo, and drags him underwater to who knows where. Leo is brought to a hooded man who is the leader of a cult that worships the elder god creature Shub Nigurath. I hope I said that right. And he wants to give life energy of other beings, like Leonardo's, to Shub to reawaken him, and then it will devour the world. The other turtles follow a trail to save Leonardo, and they arrive at the blaze and try to stop the ghoulish cult leader and his creatures. But Shub awakens, and it's a giant blob creature, and the turtles are able to destroy it when they let a giant statue fall on top of it. So the evil power is subdued and the strange going ons in the city stop. So yeah, that's the end of the story. And yeah, very Lovecraftian style story. And I gotta say, the art also works very good in this story because it's also very dark and spooky. So yeah, enjoyed this.
Especially with the name Infestation. Again, it's like I can kind of know when you're like, yes. I mean, you pretty much like all turtles, but you get like you get like a little rubbing of the hands, like, ooh boy, I can't wait to dive into this one. Especially and again when it's turtles and horror, it's just like, dude, that's your pizza right there, man. That's your pizza with all your favorite toppings. Coming
Pretty
up,
much.
coming up next, another jam-packed special here. Body count 4-parter, and what's cool about this one is the story is by none other than Kevin Eastman.
Yeah, Body Count, that was by Image Comics in '96. That was a story that Kevin Eastman and Steve Bissett, I hope I got that right, did. They're together and they're big action movie fans, and they wanted to do their own like John Woo style story. And oh boy, Body Count might be the bloodiest and like goriest TMNT story ever. So, whoa, strap in. Um, The story starts with Casey, and yeah, that's also I gotta say it's a Casey and Raph story. So it starts with Casey, who is in the middle of a bar brawl, and a young woman named Midnight runs away from a cyborg hitman named Johnny Woo Woo, who was working with Midnight, but after a failed hit, he blames her and wants her dead. So Midnight runs into Casey and he protects her from Johnny Woo Woo and his gang. Just then, Raph jumps down from a roof above and helps them, and after a short fight, Casey, Raph, and Midnight escape. Midnight gets some weapons to protect herself and her two partners from Johnny, so they go from one gunfight into another with gas stations blowing up and more. And Midnight meets with a friend who can help her get to a place called the Sanctuary. Just as Johnny appears again and the big shootout starts again. So it's like one action scene after another. Raph, Casey, and Midnight escape again and after a while arrive at an abandoned church, which turns out to be the Sanctuary. Then the team arms themselves again. Raph grabs some guns, Casey gets a hockey stick, and the Star Spangled Mask that he later wears in the Image comics. Then Johnny arrives again, but also men who work for Johnny's boss. And so a big fight between all these parties starts again. So the big fight and shooting and violence and explosions and everything, it's like the big finale. Casey gets hit with a shot and Raph thinks he is dead. Midnight here herself then confronts Johnny and tells him that this is all a setup by Johnny's boss so that they all wipe themselves out and he has all the power. But Johnny doesn't want to hear it and calls for one final sword duel. Midnight is victorious and she kills Johnny. Casey is actually still alive because the bullet only hit his lucky Wayne Gretzky puck that he wears around his neck. Then the whole church explodes because why not? Midnight and Casey kiss and then each goes their own way and Raph and Casey go on the way back to New York and that's the end of that story.
Woof! What a dude. So is this again? It's always hard to do this to you. You're like, Mike, stop. But is this one of your favorites, just in regards to how violent it was? Did you ever think Turtles can get this crazy with violence? I mean, every time we were covering those IDW books, it was just one death. You know, just one iconic death. Here, it's like, yeah, it's an all you can eat.
Yeah, it's like really, as I said, like this whole story goes from one action scene to another action scene, and it's blood and gore, and it's really crazy. And it's the action is really wild, and I gotta say, uh, it's cool. It's cool for me that also something like this exists because turtles, as I always say, turtles can work in so many ways. You have the kid-friendly turtles, you have the dark and gritty turtles, and then you have the ultra-violent turtles. You can have it all. It's something is always there for anyone and everyone. So it's hard to say like turtles, ninja turtles, that's not for me because like, well, you seen it all because there are so many different things and some of them might be actually for you. And so yeah, I mean, it's as I said, it's 4 issues and it's mostly action and going from one action set piece to another. And yeah, the story it's just there to get to get to the action. So actually, if it's like I don't know, like an animated, over the top, R-rated movie or anything, this could actually really work. I think I would really have fun with this. So yeah, it's cool that something like this can also exist in the TMNT multiverse.
Can't agree anymore, my dude. Great. Well said. Well said. Coming up next, we've got my boy Hob coming back in Deviations. I was excited to see Hobby back.
Oh yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Deviations by IDW Comics. That's a what if story, and to be honest, when I checked out this again, I thought like, why don't they do this more often? Like, what if,
Mm-hmm.
you know, how like Marvel's What If, and
Yes.
with the Turtles, that could be really interesting. Here we have a what if story. What if Shredder killed Casey back in the City Falls saga, and Kitsune was able to hypnotize all four turtles, not just Leonardo, and all four turtles were working for the Shredder. So the story starts with the turtles. They're chasing Splinter across town. They beat him up and bring him to Shredder. And on the other hand, Karai starts scheming against Shredder with Alopex because she's against the turtles working with Shredder, because she says she should be the right hand man of Shredder. And Han is also gets the purple dragons together to get revenge for Casey against Shredder. As Shredder at Foot headquarters gets ready to kill Splinter, Old Hob and Slash storm in and attack the Foot. Han and the purple dragons also appear, as well as Karai and Alopex. Big fight starts. Shredder kills Karai and Alopex. Raphael kills Old Hob. Splinter then fights Kitsune on the astral plane, and with the help from Tang Shan from the afterlife, is able to kill Kitsune. And with Kitsune dead, the turtles are back to their normal selves. Then Han gets his revenge. He kills Shredder with a shotgun before Han dies from his wounds. Splinter then dies from his injuries, as well as he asks the turtles what they will do now that they are free again. And that's where the story ends. And if you want to sum it up, if you want to sum up this story, it's like pretty much everyone dies. So yeah, it's, as I said, it's very cool, very dark, very yeah, bloody sometimes. But I just I really would like to see more of this what if stories in the Turtles universe.
Especially with that IDW. I mean, there's so many ways. I mean, in any of the turtle verses, but just like, what if Splinter
Yep.
didn't, go with the Foot Clan before he did that? What if, what's one in your
Yeah.
mind? Just it's a good example in the IDW. Like, what if Jenica never was mutated and she was never the fifth turtle? How much that would impact the entire
Mm.
story?
Yeah, that's really that would be really really interesting, and would really like, I don't know, a mini series with what if stories, like each issue one will if story. That would be really cool. I would really like that.
Yeah, and usually how much do these series go? What, anywhere between 4 to 6 issues? That's all we would need. And then if it's a hit, you can do
Yeah.
it again like yearly. So I'm with you on that one, dude. Can never have too many turtles. So coming up next, we've got a celebration here by IDW with 2020.
Yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2020 that came out in 2019 when IDW had their 20th anniversary, and they put out like stories there from their different franchises, where each one took place like 20 years in the past or 20 years in the future. And for the Turtles, we see a possible future 20 years in the future, where the Utroms have won and they are about to get a technodrome ready to terraform Earth. But the rebellion with the turtles is still going strong. Also with Sally Bright and her team in Berlin, and the turtles and the grown-up pepperoni in Florence. Leonardo is actually no longer the leader since he perfected his astral blade powers and is traveling the plane all the time, so isn't always there. So Mikey is actually the one who took over the lead for the turtles. And after some fights, the turtles are able to blow up the Technodrome in Florence. But the Utroms tell the turtles that they just destroyed one Technodrome, because there are Technodromes all over Europe and they appear. So the fight still goes on with the turtles and all their allies. And on the last page, we see the turtles arrive in Paris for their next mission. So yeah, once again, we in the IDW universe, we already had some possible futures, and gotta say, this is just one another possible future. And yeah, I like it. It kind of also goes in the what if storyline. Like, what if the Utroms in the future would have won? So yeah, once again, really enjoyed it.
Another good one here. So before we get to our last one, big thank you again, dude, for always helping us out here on Shellonomics, breaking down stuff. So you kind of chose this order that we were covering these issues today. What made you go in this proper order? Start out with a banger with Casey Jones. We got into the silly stuff, then we got into the more serious stuff, and then we've got one more little cherry on top before that. But what was going through your mind just getting these ready for us this week?
Mostly, I pretty much just wanted to like put the stories together, the publishers together. Like we started with the Mirage stuff. I mean, okay. Then in the middle of it, we had the IDW stuff with Infestation. Yeah, that somehow doesn't fit in there because we're going back to Image Comics and then go back to IDW Comics. Okay, I think I should have done that a little bit different. But yeah, my main thought really was like, okay, we're gonna put all the same thing from the same publisher together. And yeah, I actually didn't really do that, but that was the thought behind it. It didn't work out, but that was the thought behind it.
Gotcha. Well, as most TV shows, comics do, they end with a little zinger. So we've got one more for you guys with our cherry on top, and we're going to Funko Land.
Yeah, another special by IDW Comics called the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Funko Universe. And that's a story, comic story in the, TMNT Funko universe. So all the characters look like the Funko Pop action figures. And because, why not? Because it's fun. And in the story, and it's pretty much like a classic cartoon story, Mikey brings home a new cereal called the Rice Shreddies. But the prize inside the cereal, the decoder ring, is missing. So the turtles go to the factory, which, as it turns out, is run by Shredder and Krang. And they put vitamin X into the cereal to turn kids into mind-controlled zombies. When the turtles see the bad guys, a battle starts, but the bad guys escape with the Trucknodrome, which is a big truck for deliveries, and the turtles chase them in the turtle van. They then shoot milk at the Trucknodrome and make the cereal all soggy, and the bad guys blast off into the sky with an explosion. And then Mikey finds the decoder ring, but it turns out that his fingers are too big and he can't use it. So, yeah, the good guys win, but they don't get a prize this time. So, yeah, just once again, just a fun story. Very, very 87 cartoon like in the Funko style, which is also something you don't see every day.
Funkos have been around forever, and it seems like it's finally slowing down a little bit, but everybody I feel has had a Funko in their life. They're kind of like video games, slice of pizza. So what are some of your favorite Funko Pops in the Turtle Realm? For me, I just got one. Well, I did like the movie Star Turtles were cool. There's so many San Diego Comic-Con exclusives, but I like the itty bitty ones. I got that as a gift. It's the Turtle Van, and they're all little dudes, so it's a nice little collector set. But I know you've got a lot of Turtle Funkos.
Yeah, I have some of them. And the first one that comes to my mind is the Last Ronin Funko, which is kind of like a statue because it shows like Ronin on top of a rubble and looking all gritty. And it's really like a statue. It looks really, really cool. But I also think the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TMNT Funkos, they are also very cool. And yeah, I totally like the itty bitty ones. They have also some very cool stuff like the Turtle Van and also like this box that you can open up and you have the turtles lair inside it and you can like pose the turtles in there and have the turtles in the turtle lair. That's also really cool. So yeah, it's like they're always putting out this stuff, and I'm always like eh, just one more, and yeah, it's getting a bit crowded with my TMNT stuff and also the Funko stuff, but yeah, they don't stop. They just don't stop.
Well, the one thing you can do just to, I'm sure the wife would agree, is just, hey, I'm sorry, honey. I got to do it for my Instagram fam. I need a new picture. I got to buy something new. I need my new photos. So,
yeah, that's true. That's also true.
Dude, it's been another great one here. Appreciate your time, energy, and love for Ninja Turtles. So, what's one of your final takeaways here? If there's something that we haven't said, if you had to pick one of these for people to read, it's hard to do that. For me, I'm going to say either the Casey Jones one, because a lot of fans now just think of the six-parter that we covered here on Shellonomics, but you've got the one in the 90s, and the movie Parody, I think, is a must, because that's still the king of the castle for Ninja Turtle fandom and Ninja Turtle, media history. Is the first movie. Like you say, it's done by Mirage. It's meant to be comical. What's your takeaway, and what's one you recommend our listeners to check out?
First off, I gotta say, if you're a fan of the 1990 movie, and which turtle fan is not a fan of the 1990 movie, you really should check out the Green Gray Sponge Sushi Turtles, because it's, as I said, it's a parody, but it's made with love, and there's really a lot of thought put into it, and they really know the story, and they're just making fun of it, but in an not in an evil way. It's a nice way, and it's really so much fun. But if you really want to go, like, I don't know if there's someone out there's like Ninja Turtles, that's for kids. Then go and show them body count. Show them the body count mini says like, really? You want this for kids? Like, just to show them that turtles can also be different, just not cartoony and funny and for kids, but it's also the way it can go. So yeah, it's a wild one. It's a very different one. But if you really want to go into a very different TMNT story, I would recommend Body Count. And yeah, then see where you're going from there. So yeah, that's one I gotta say. And we now pretty much have covered all the stories, all the books from Mirage, Image, Archie, and IDW. So pretty good, gotta say. Pretty good.
We're not on camera, but I am grabbing my Squirtle Squad hat just to put on and give you a tip of the cap. there's the gods will trust me with this, but a tip of the cap for helping us get all these down. This was another fun grind that we have completed here. I really look forward to our next chat, because there's just still so much comics that we get to cover here. And oh, dude, I know Saturday morning, like I say, we're getting too soon. Last Ronin, but guys, the 4th of July is here in America in a couple days, so happy Independence Day. 250 for America. A lot of you guys are going to be traveling on the road. We've got plenty of episodes here to keep you company, but if you want to know more and a little more in depth, we've got our buddy here, Christian, who has just came out with a new episode in English with the Shredder, I believe, the one that we covered here, but you go a lot more in depth, right, with your Shredder finale?
Yeah, that's as you said, today I put out another episode of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles That Talk, which is my podcast, where I talk about issue 5 and 6 of the Shredder miniseries, which is like the first arc, and like the end of the first arc, but the series is still going on, and still in the middle of the second arc. So yeah, hey, if you're into these comics, you can look forward to me talking about these comics very soon. So yeah, as you say, there is always something to talk about, and there's still so much stuff coming out, and yeah, the turtle stuff doesn't end. So check out TMNTTALK on every podcast app you might find, or just go to TMNTTalk.com, the website where you find all the stuff. So if you're interested in hearing more from me, that's the way to go.
Yeah, I encourage all to check that out, because Christian just gives us a couple slices. Over there, he's got the full pizza loaded with facts and a great just insight, too, from a diehard Turtle fan. Well, like you say, there's always turtles around the corner, and there's more Pokemon, as I'm still trying to get to that freaking level 80, dude. It just does not stop. So Pokemon and turtles have a lot in common. But guys, that's going to be it for our episode today on Shellonomics. So long, everybody. And Christian, until next time.
Until next time, Kawabanga and Goongala.